everybody, this is Jeremy Martin from Cinco.medicos, and in this video I wanted to discuss some tools for ceremony and for life that I believe will be helpful, regardless of whatever medicine that you're working with or whatever situation that you're in life with. So to start, the reason that tools are so important for ceremony and for life and navigating difficult situations, whether you're in an altered state of consciousness or an ordinary state of consciousness, is to think of what we use tools for just in general. What would a painter be without her brush or her easel? And what would a carpenter be without his hammer, drills, or his wrench? And so the same notion applies to ceremony. Without our tools, we are much less apt to navigate ceremony and life for that matter. So the first tool that I would suggest is to remind yourself that you're ready. And although we've already discussed many of the preparation techniques in previous posts and videos, one essential tool is to just remember that you've prepared, you've done your research, you've found the right guide, you've found a right group of people, you've been investigating safe and supportive settings to do this in. You've done the journaling, the meditation, the breath work, the yoga. So be kind to yourself and have confidence that you've done everything that you can or could have to prepare for the experience. Now, the next one would be time and effort. I tend to recommend a longer course of treatment, and that's a tool for you to navigate ceremony so that you don't have to start out with high doses. You can start out at a comfortable level. The key is to empower you, not to overpower you. And so you don't have to feel pressured to get everything done in one or two ceremonies, because realistically you won't. And generally, your healing is never going to end. It's only going to deepen. And one of the great paradoxes in healing, in my opinion, is that we need to just stop trying to heal ourselves, stop trying to fix ourselves or even awaken ourselves. All of this striving just leads to more striving, and the more we try to fix ourselves, the more broken we're apt to feel. The greater that our desire is to awaken, the stronger our sense of inadequacy and that we feel asleep. So in order to heal, we need to stop begging the flower to bloom or the fruit to ripen. It's going to do so in its own time. So just give it time. And in the meantime, don't contribute by adding exponents to your own dis-ease. You need to bow to yourself as you actually are and spread out your course of treatment over a longer period of time to lessen the overwhelm that you need to get it all done, and just give yourself space to grow naturally. It takes many seasons for trees to become mature, and dispense with the idea, just as a human, that there's going to be radical overnight change. Be patient. Drinking ayahuasca once won't mend your marriage. It's not going to land you your dream job or improve your living situation. And taking a heroic dose of mushrooms is not going to completely alleviate your grief. It may lessen it and give you a new perspective, but it will probably not eradicate it in one fell swoop. So for these reasons, I recommend folks to view your course of treatment with plant medicines as a relationship, in which the more you give of yourself, the more you're going to receive from the experience, which is yourself. You're receiving something from yourself because you're putting time and effort in and using that as a tool for navigating ceremony and life. So this is true for anything, really. Practicing piano, going to therapy consistently, training for a race like a marathon or triathlon, gardening. You have to give it time. You have to do it more often. You have to take breaks too, and then you'll start to see major change with time. And personally, I've been working with plant medicines for years. I didn't heal my chronic pain, my addictions, my depression, my limiting beliefs, my fears, my relationship troubles. None of these were erased or tied in a neat little bow at the drop of a hat. Let's just be real here. I had to put in serious work. I experienced a lot of hardship, and I had to do a lot of ceremonies, and I had to just rest and be human. So my work with plant medicines and healing is really no different than how I went about writing books or grew my own businesses or developed lifelong friendships or my marriage. These are all relationships that took me time. They took consistent effort and non-doership, just getting out of my own way. And so unsurprisingly, this is exactly what I see when I work with other people. The greatest transformations always occur in those who have committed to more ceremonies over a longer period of time and who are most sincere in their intentions and most earnest in their hard work out of ceremony, as well as in it, of course. But just as one must, for anything worth doing right, be an active participant in it, you also need to yield to the slow, beautiful process that's essential for balanced growth and growing balance. So those who have lofty expectations of instant results, they're always going to leave the ceremony slightly confused, probably pretty upset, and sadly disappointed that things didn't work out the way that they wanted to. So just give it time, put in the right amount of effort and non-action. These are really not only some of the most effective tools for ceremony, but life as well. So now with that serious one out of the way, just take a nap before ceremony. If your ceremony's in the morning, make sure you get ample rest the night before. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult to concentrate. You're going to be too tired and too groggy. If your ceremony's at night, like with ayahuasca, take a nap in the afternoon. Usually sometime around 1 or 2, maybe, depending on what time you drink. It depends. So that if you're going to stay up late, into the wee hours in the morning, like 2 or 3, you don't want to feel as if you're wanting to sleep during ceremony. It is okay to sleep during ceremony if that's what the medicine is calling for, but generally speaking, you probably want to be focused on what's going on inside within. Rest is a very underrated and therefore often overlooked tool for ceremony. The more well-rested, the more relaxed and more of yourself you'll have to give to the entire experience. Now that's sort of a segue to the next one, which is grounding beforehand. Doing breath work and meditation right before ceremony, about an hour before everybody gathers in the maloka or teepee or wherever you are, and before the first cup is poured, that's going to help you get into your body to regulate your central nervous system in a rest and digest parasympathetic state. So take some deep inhales, do a 4, 6, or 8 count. Hold it for about 4 or 6 seconds, and then exhale out the mouth. And do that for 3 to 5 minutes, maybe then some pranayama, some alkaline breathing. And during the morning or day leading up to ceremony, maybe take a walk in nature, even do some singing. Either way, take time to be with yourself and avoid crosstalk with other people. It may be something that you feel like is very tempting to do, is to socialize with other people in the group, but I've found, generally speaking, being with yourself before is a good way to just minimize distractions. And on that note, put away the screens, just do some stretching, some yoga, press your fingertips together, pinch your toes, hum, whatever works for you. Find your own routine and focus on that, so you'll just feel cool, calm, and confident once you come in and sit down on your mat. Now, once you are on your mat, I suggest repeating your intentions in your head. You should be very familiar with them by now. Repeat them many times over like a mantra until that intention is firmly seated in your psyche. Doing this is going to help so that if you ever feel lost or a little chaotic during the journey, you can more easily remind yourself why you're there and what to focus on. It's going to be your anchor. And so if you go in that direction or this direction, you can always come back into your own center. Now, in terms of other actual physical tools, Agua Florida, Mapacho, Incense, like sage or Palo Santo, these are excellent tools. Really, I work with them all the time to have by your side, along with a lighter so that you can make use of them. If you ever feel like you're getting dysregulated, just rub some Agua Florida on your palm and rub them together. Take a few deep inhalations so that you can ground. Light a Mapacho and sople or blow the smoke over your body. Smudge yourself with sage or Palo Santo, being respectful of your neighbors, of course. Take a few deep breaths in the nose, through the nose. And you'll be back in the here and now. And you can order these items, and you can always breathe, of course. You can order these items before ceremony, but a good guide usually has these or similar tools with them, so you can just ask for some extras if they have some. Now, speaking of your guide, another tool is just remember, you can ask for help at any point in time. You're being guided by, hopefully, a competent, trained professional with a lot of experience with altered states of consciousness, with navigating difficult situations and supporting others with traumatic processes. So rest assured, if you ever need help, you can always ask for it at any time. Just say, help. And remember, you're not alone here. If you're with a group, you can take comfort in the fact that other people are in their process too. And if you're working one-on-one with your facilitator, you have a direct line of assistance if it's ever needed. So that's a good way to get into the attitude of trust. And that's another tool, trust and surrender. In the West, we usually think of surrender as an act of giving up, as sort of relenting, or giving up control to yield to the power of someone else, or the acknowledgement of defeat. And in this context, I'm actually referring to the exact opposite. In the East, such as in the Hindu tradition, for example, surrender is a process called sharanagati, where sharan means shelter and agat is one who's being sheltered. And this really connotes to me a sanctuary of the mind's own power to liberate itself from any thought. And Viktor Frankl famously said that, anything can be taken from us except the last of the human freedoms, and that's our attitude, our own attitude to choose how we think in a certain way, regardless of the circumstances. And that's the last of our human freedoms. We can always choose how we respond in any given situation. And so this is the shelter. This is the shelter of surrender. It's not dependence on anyone else but oneself. You're in charge of your own thoughts. You create your own perception of reality at all times. You're in control. So while you may feel like you're losing control over the experience, you never lose control over how you respond, if you remember that you can control how you respond. And that's really empowering. Surrender is just, I would equate it with trust in one's own self, regardless of whatever happens. Now, the best way to navigate ceremony in life, I've found, is another tool, and that's just concentration. How are you going to trust and to focus your mind and to decide how you respond if you're not concentrating on what's happening and what's going on in your inner and outer environment? If you're not focused or paying attention, how can you ever be aware of your perception? You'll be too lost in thought and swept away by distractions to ever really be able to give yourself the grace of that own inner sanctum that I spoke about. This is why meditation and mindfulness are so key to plant medicine and life in general. Just paying attention. Ask yourself, is this experience trying to teach me something that I'm fighting consciously or subconsciously, or my own fear is preventing me from noticing? Take a close look, and maybe you'll see something that you've missed. I certainly have in my own ceremony experiences. As soon as I concentrate, I realize, okay, I'm not focusing on my breath. Or just focus on the icaros, start there. Concentrate on what is going on within you. That's even better. Only then can you really trust in yourself and truly have faith. You'll probably hear a lot of people in the spiritual and plant medicine community say, everything is happening in your highest good. And I agree with that, but you're not going to believe them unless you know and notice your own inner wisdom. Trust is what helps you to let go, but letting go is what helps you to concentrate. And concentration helps you trust. So it is a cyclical feedback loop of these inner tools that we have, this inner resilience that we can build in and outside of ceremony. Because you're not so busy resisting, planning, analyzing, or wanting to understand everything totally rationally, which is taking you away from concentration. You'll get much more out of any experience, in or out of ceremony, if you do that. So this is going to leave you feeling empowered again. If you're truly empowered, that's going to help you let go and trust even more, because you're not going to feel the need to control or dominate or change the experience. Only yourself and your perception of the experience, your perspective, can you change. All right. Last tool, I guess, would say is that there's really no such thing as normal. Get rid of should from your vocabulary. Use that as a tool. The experience should be like this, or I should be like that. Man, the number of times I've heard people ask me, is this normal? Does this happen to a lot of people? Does the medicine typically do X, Y, Z? These are subtle yet very powerful forms of trying to control the experience, of comparing ourselves to other people and not trusting or loving ourselves. In other words, just think of ceremony or life as being whatever they are at any given point. If I screw up anything in this video, I just screwed something up in the video. It's not a big deal. Ceremony or life don't need to be, or shouldn't be. They don't need to be some way. And so you shouldn't think they should be one way or another. That's just a subtle form of resisting yourself and resisting what is, right? So just love and be with what is, whether that's a blistering discomfort or a divine bliss. Trust yourself, remember your intentions, why you came here, anchor in the present moment, breathe, concentrate. Just know that you're in a safe place with good people, safe medicines, that you prepared, again, all the tools that I just mentioned. You have help if you need it. You can always choose how you respond to something, anything, be it in ceremony or in life. So these are just a couple of tools that I've found to be helpful. Pretty basic, but pretty powerful. And I hope this has been helpful. All right, take care.